In this week's video, we are putting the wallpaper into the upper floor of the dollhouse. Stay tuned and see how easy this was to do. Alright, we are going to start wallpapering this upstairs main room, the bedroom, basically, for the upstairs. And I've decided I'm going to use the stripe. I think that'll look fine in there. Kind of getting out of my comfort zone, using a little more wallpaper in this build than I normally do. So we need to make a pattern. And we're going to start here. Now we're going to leave this space in here where the door will be. We're not going to cut that out until till the wallpaper is up and dried. So I've got a piece, I'm just using some cheap printer paper here. I'm going to put that there. I've lined it up on the floor and on the edge. It's okay if it hangs out a little. We can trim the outside edge. Now, and that's going to be held with just one piece of paper. Now I'm going to bring this forward and I'm going to bend it around. You guys see it. You can see the front wall a bit because I want my paper, my wallpaper, to bend around so that I can get crooked. There we go. And now tear another piece. Now it's going to bend around this wall, but it's going to come up right up to that line. I think I need to do a little more taping here. Now normally I would only put one piece of tape, but I think because of the width of this piece, I'm going to have to tape it a few extra places because it's trying to come off the wall. And I need it to stay there. All right, there we go. Now that'll still easily take it down. It's up where I want this to end right there. To go like that. So I've got that lined up right where I want it to end. This is basically the same way we made our ceiling paper pattern earlier, and how I've made patterns for wallpaper for other dollhouses in the past, other builds we've done on the channel. So if you've watched some of my other builds, you've probably already seen me do this. What does that come? The ceiling up there is kind of tricky. Luckily, it's up where it's not really going to be seen that much. So I'm just kind of using my fingers to make sure my paper is lined up to the peak on the side towards the roof. And this is not going to be a perfect pattern by any means. It's going to still be kind of an approximate cut. I'm going to fill this one in. I'm going to go that. There. I'll go that far. Now I need more. And so far I'm still only using 2 pieces of printer paper to make this pattern. There, and then I'll need another piece that's narrower. Trying to see in without getting my head in front of the camera, which is kind of an interesting job. Okay, I need about like that. Yes. And if it's not perfect up under that roof line, I'm not going to stress too much about it. All right. I think that's about right. I'm going to turn the camera off, get my head in there and really look. I'll get a couple of pictures, and then I'll take this wallpaper, this pattern down, and I'll go cut our first piece of our striped wallpaper. All right, so I cut this. I dry fitted already once, but I'll show you it. There's a little bit that I'll need to trim off here most likely, but it fits really well. A little bit, this is a little tough, there we go. So that's going to fit like that, so I'm going to go and get some wallpaper paste and get this piece ready to go on the wall. All right, so off camera I have coated the back of the wallpaper and also just up in that peak because I knew I would not be able to see it and record at the same time. So I'm just applying a nice coat of our wallpaper gel. By the way, in a couple of weeks I'm going to do a review on what I think about my thoughts on this gel, kind of a review of the product. So watch for that. That'll be an upcoming Tuesday video. I'm not sure when I'll have it up, but I am planning it. All right, now there's a hair. Now, this wall is not completely perfectly smooth. There's a few seams. Now, if you didn't watch last week's video where I did the downstairs wallpaper, you're probably wondering why I didn't cut out the door opening. And that's because it's much easier to put this wallpaper up and it's much less fragile when we have the door this intact in the paper. And then we'll just very carefully cut that later. Smooth this, work out any bubbles, any that went in pretty well. All right, so now I'm going to move the camera around and we're going to make a pattern for the other end. All right, so once again, it's just a matter of doing the same thing we did earlier. I've got a piece of printer paper. All the way to the wall. Okay. Unfortunately, I have wallpaper paste on my fingers. All right. And I'm just going to continue to fit go ahead and cut that corner off. This one will be a little bit easier simply because it's a slightly smaller wall. It doesn't go into the dormer like the other side does. So it makes it a little bit easier. Now I'm going to run a piece. Also, if you didn't watch the last couple of weeks, we do have craft paper tape to the floor, just around the edges to protect it from any falling paste from either when we did the ceiling papers or now when we're doing the wallpapers. All right, well, I'm going to continue this just like I did the other side and just like I did the downstairs wall. I'll get a piece cut for tape together for this. I'll cut the wallpaper and then I'll be back. All right, so I got this piece of wallpaper cut. It's another really fun shaped one. I've got a fold over in the back, and it fits right up against the ceiling and right up to the front. So let's, I'm gonna go put the wallpaper paste on the back of this and on this wall, and I'll be back. All right, so both surfaces are coated in paste again. in, making sure it lays nice and flat there. There we go. Now we have one more piece we need to make a pattern for now, and then we're going to let the rest of these pieces all dry, and we'll come back later and do the final piece. All right, I've got you guys sitting on the floor in the dollhouse. I'm going to try my best not to knock you over. So I have a piece of paper. I'm going to tape that there. That doesn't line up there very well, does it? Now I'm lining this up against this edge here, which is where our ceiling paper folded over. That's our first place we want to make sure we line up with. This is actually the second time I've done this area started it, because I found I just couldn't get the camera in a spot where you guys could see and I could see. So I'm trying to use the pieces of paper I've already done. So we've got a strip here. What I'm doing is just very slowly building this line up. I'm going to put a few extra pieces of tape on this, just to hold it in place better. This is, it's a really tight space to work. It wouldn't be so bad. When you're doing it at home, you won't be working around the camera. Quite frankly, that's my biggest issue, is trying to get where I can see and not block the camera from seeing what I'm doing, because I want you guys to be able to know what I'm doing, so you can do the same on your dollhouse. I'm going to put, let's see, just a piece. I'm going to fill this center in a little bit so that it's a little more stable. I don't want this to fall apart immediately when I try to take it out. And again, this is it's not a perfect pattern. It's to give me an idea of where I need to cut, how I need to cut my piece of wallpaper. Oops, that's a little higher than I want it. Let's see if I can pull it off. It'll do. That'll be fine. And one more piece of tape. And then I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to go cut a piece of the wallpaper. I'll bring it in, dry fit it, get some paste on it, and then I'll show you how to put it in and get it worked into the wall. All right, hopefully I haven't moved you too much. So I've got this cut, I've got it ready to go. Now, I do want to make sure I go straight up and down with my stripes. At least as straight up and down as I can. And there we go. So I'm going to let this dry a bit. I'm going to kind of push out any excess paste. I am going to get a damp cloth and wipe off from there, off camera. And I'm going to let this dry a bit before we work on the final piece of paper for this room. All right, we are ready to make the pattern for this wall. And this is going to be a rather large piece of paper. And I've got some pieces of printer paper here that I've cut down. I measured how far I wanted this piece to go up. This is 1.5 inches measurement there. So I cut a couple of strips 1.5 inches. I'm going to tape that one there. And then I'm going to tape this piece. That way I've got a piece long enough. Now I want it to come, this bottom, go all the way from this corner all the way to the corner on the other end. I'm going to try not to block you guys' view, but it's really a tight space here. And I pre-did a few pieces of tape, but not enough. Now we need to fill in this area here. Let's see how I did. Okay, this will work for there. That's about all the tape I already had. So let's get, and remember, once again, we are going to, whoops, there goes my light. Now I can't see what I'm doing either. Oh. This is a really tight space. That's the one big disadvantage to trying to work in a dollhouse, is we need to shrink ourselves down. Okay, get another piece of tape, and let's see what I've got. I've got various pieces of paper laying here that I can use. All right. This one up here. Now this piece that we're taping today, this is our last piece of wallpaper we're putting in, and it will be cut to the size of the wall. We won't have any extra bits folded over. Whoops, let me put that in the right spot. We won't have any extra bits folded over in any area. I'm not going to use this. That's not going to work because we're not going to a wall we're adjacent to walls that are already, areas are already papered. Okay, now, let's get this one here. And I'm overlapping. Normally I wouldn't need to put near as many overlapping pieces together, but because I can't really reach in with the camera there, it makes it really difficult. Let's see. Get myself one more piece. And also I'm looking at this kind of from the side because I've got the camera sitting at a more direct area. Let me see if I can raise you up now so that you can see up a little more. So we can get this open. Hopefully you saw most of what I was doing there. I apologize if I missed. If I blocked the camera. With no window there, it makes that a little more difficult. Here. And I'm just going up to the top of the wall so that I've got paper to fit. All right, that's not straight. Okay, now there. Hopefully I didn't just block your view entirely. I do apologize if I'm getting my arm in the way of the camera. I know I am sometimes. There's really not a way around it. I still have you so you can see. It's kind of like having both our heads in the sticking in the dollhouse, and there's just not a lot of room here. Okay. Oh, come on, don't sleep there. All right, there we go. I think I'm only going to need to put in 2 more pieces. This one and one more maybe. All right. Yes. And before I take this pattern out of here, I will take a photograph of it, and that photograph will be on the blog post. This fit? No, it's going to take 2 pieces. Okay. And I'll also take a picture of it outside of the dollhouse so you can see it. Good. All right, there we go. And we have a pattern that will be usable now. So I am going to turn the camera off. I'm going to take a photo of this. I'll take it out. And I'll go over and I will cut a piece of the wallpaper this size, and I'll bring it back and dry fit it, and then I'll be back with you. All right, now I'm dry fitting this in. It fits okay. There's a few gaps along the edges, but that's all right because that's why we wrapped the other paper around the corners. So I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'm actually going to install this one because this is going to be a little trickier to get worked in. The next time I turn the camera on will be after this dries, and we can cut out that window opening and this door opening right here. So I'll be back for you in just a second. For me, probably tomorrow morning. All right, so here's a look at the walls, the upper floor. Now, I want to say I am not 100% happy with this wallpaper. It's super, super thin, so it tears easily. Also, there are a few spots. I don't know if the camera's picking them up. Let's try turning this light up. A camera, I don't think, can pick them up, but there's a few spots on the wall that are dark, and I don't know if after time they're going to fade, that it's simply there was more paste there or what, but it's not something I've experienced with other wallpapers, and I didn't experience it with the other two pieces I've used from this set, just this one. So that being said, I'm not going to, for right now I'm going to leave it the way it is. I don't think I'll change it out. I don't think it's worth the effort. I think I'll just hang things strategically in the room to cover up the spots. So now I'm going to turn off this inside light, and we are going to cut out this window opening. Then I'll reorient the camera and we'll cut out the door opening. But it's much easier to do this from inside when you don't have the light on. Since there's light behind it, I can see through to see where I need to cut. And this one is pretty straightforward. We're just cutting along the lines. There's nothing to worry about because there's nothing that we can damage here. I'm trying to do this where you guys can see and I can still reach. And it doesn't matter if it's perfect, because remember, we've got a window frame that is going to go in that spot. So now what I like to do after I do that, if I can find it, I take either some sandpaper or an emery board, and I just kind of take off any major rough spots that might make my window not fit very well. But the window frame, the inside framing on the window is going to cover that spot. So I'm going to turn the camera off, move it a little bit, and then we'll talk about that door opening. Alright, so from here you can see the door opening. On this one, I am going to, no matter which side I was doing, I need to cut this one from here, because here is that tape wire. Remember, we wrapped the tape wire around from the bedroom into the bathroom, and it came around this right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm not sure if I can do this with the camera in the way or not. I'm going to start above that spot. And I do have my little flashlight type work light going in. It's lit in the next room so that I've got more contrast. I can see what I'm doing easier. This is a lot harder with the camera in my way than it normally would be. Now, I'm going to start, I'm going to get a knife in here. I'm going to have to go get another knife. Hold on just a second. Alright, since this is such a tight space, I couldn't get my knife in that I like to use. Now, doing that, and then I'm going to actually, that was below the tape. Now I'm going to do that. Now, there's no chance that I accidentally cut the tape wire doing that. And now I'm going to pull this back. And I'm just going to cut off, I'm not even going to cut off all of it. I'm going to cut it close but not across that. Then I'm going to take my sandpaper, which I've laid down. And again, I'm not going to do this where that is. Off camera, I'll neaten up both sides, but again, it's not going to matter because there's a door frame that's going to go here. So if you don't get this cut perfect, it's okay. It doesn't really matter because the door frame will cover it. So that's all we're going to get done today. I hope you enjoyed this week's video and learned a little bit about how to put the wallpaper in, how to make a pattern so you get the wallpaper correct. Oh, and you are seeing which wallpaper I chose for the bathroom. I did that off camera. Next week we will move on to another part of the project. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, leave a comment. If you haven't subscribed, push that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.